Wandering day. Yeah, I guess we're on episode 5, guys. This is just how I'm gonna start. Just be natural. Just be all natural. So.
Because you're here to help.
We hope he's here to help, or he's
right.
Saruman. Who's walking song?
Hey, go on, Pops. Give us a warble.
Give us a warble.
Give us a warble.
Past eyes of pale fire, black sand for my bed.
Yeah, they really got left all the way.
Call to me, lands far away.
I don't know why. I got goosebumps right now.
I also don't know why. And Jack's like, this is incredible. He's turning around like the jock in science class just made fun of him.
Bruh.
Your arm. Show it to me.
He might literally be the blueprint or the thing that makes orcs.
This tower will no longer be a reminder of our frailty, but a symbol of our strength.
You guys have any weapons? You guys have any warriors?
These people couldn't even get food on their own.
I know.
Like, the boy had to sneak off.
It's not your deliverance.
You think you are? Elf!
I want him to jump down so bad and just box this dude. Like...
They left faster than people in Russia are leaving right now. That's how fast.
Oh my god.
But you had your chance. And you made your choice.
All these people actually committed. Like, you didn't. Like, why would I take you over people that actually, like, know what the hell they're doing and that actually made a decision? Like, yeah, I still don't understand that kid at all.
Find another head to crown.
This guy, like, why doesn't he want it? Yay!
Was that like the junior version of You Shall Not Pass?
There are many ways to kill an orc.
Yeah, so this is the episode where they're like, we need to get ready for the fight. And then hopefully next week is, this is the fight. Great music.
Yeah. The look on her face is just incredible. Like,
Swordsmanship is about balance rather than strength. Fight with your feet, not your arms.
but my feet don't got sores though.
Oh!
Ooh, ah.
Your cousin may hold the scepter, but it's you the people follow.
I really thought this Pharisee guy was like a throwaway, but they keep coming back to him.
Yeah, he's obviously really important for the overarching story.
Elves will take orders from us.
Oh, maybe he's bad.
Hey!
Bro,
Oh.
what? Why? Like,
yeah, that was a bad
what
idea.
a crackhead, bro.
I don't want him to be bad, though. I want him to be good.
Gandalf and Saruman are the two like top runners in my head for who he could be, but I think there were 5 wizards that beamed down out of nowhere.
Typically takes you people weeks just to decide to take a shit.
If I may.
We shall have to send it home with you, so it can be treated with the proper respect.
It's like, was that king literally trying to sabotage any kind of like relationship between the dwarves and the elves? Like,
Yeah, I don't understand his motive right there.
There's some animosity from each of them towards each other.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And what if keeping your promise to his people meant ensuring the doom of your own?
Why would that be the doom of the elves? Am I missing something?
I was thinking the same thing, bro.
Why
like,
would the
and
dwarves
even he
finding
looked
this
confused.
ore be their doom? Like, they just struck up a union. That should be a good thing.
Well, maybe because, like, remember the whole thing, the last episode where with the Leave dying? Maybe this season that they're in, they need that source to bring things to life. I don't know, but maybe that's the connection. Like, they're in this prophecy of times where things are decaying, literally.
That the light of the Eldar, our light, is fading.
Just like, remember in the first episode, the flashback when Morgoth came and completely eradicated the whole kingdom. That's what's happening.
I swore an oath.
Thank you, brother.
The hope of preventing that is not reason enough to make you reconsider your oath. I suggest you find another.
Why don't you just tell all that to them?
Yeah, I feel like this guy should talk to Durin. If
Yeah, instead of insulting him.
Actually,
Yo, that was strong as hell, bro. Leave him.
Oh my god.
they just both die.
A cask must have gone up. A cask?
What? Why is he covering his butt?
He's like, bro, I'm gonna have to deal with this later.
Why? Why are you... Do you even...
And you know what he said? Because he was the only one who could do it.
Go snitch right now.
I know, right?
Now we all survived.
It's literally all those people. It's over with.
Unless they recruit him. Either they're going to recruit him or kill him right then and there.
You're asking me to go to the one place that I swore never to return. The least you can do is tell me why.
This is finna ravage, like, your entire world. Why is that not enough for these people? I don't understand.
you are Sauron, are you not?
Tough.
I'm gonna laugh. This dude says Sauron. I hate that boy. I got my own thing going.
Half of us just left. But half stayed. Including you.
But the glass is half empty. It's half full.
You were right to watch us. Because we're destined for the darkness.
Well, that was fast.
Wondering if the show wants to like sideswipe us with like, whoa, that's gonna be Sauron, but I kind of hope they don't. When it feels like part of the show's point is to try to like surprise me, it's a little annoying.
You made it up, didn't you?
This has been wanting a new table for years.
Oh my... Oh, he's the best. He is the best.
Enough with the quail sauce. Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
I think he could take it. Oh God, don't say that
Yes.
ever again.
Give it to me raw. It's like Gollum.
Give me the meat and give it
to me raw.
Right.
Jeez.
I did not come to Khazad-dûm for friendship, but ambition. I did not know it, but I came for Mithril.
I would have not phrased it that way.
Yeah. I'm like,
there's
bro,
no shot I would have.
Just be like, they manipulated me.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me the full truth.
The fate of the entire elven race is in your hands.
He likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose hands?
Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah,
Fantastic
their
job.
chemistry is good. Am I crazy for thinking that those rose petals looked CGI?
I think next week we're going to finally get the battle in the Southlands. Of course, they give her the best looking armor.
Okay.
And she
All
looks
right, turn up.
spectacular. Ooh. She has like the best one. I love it.
All the little boys over there melting.
I know, they're all like, so you seeing anyone?
Ooh, beat me up one more time. Ooh.
Friendship.
Clasping
That's how you
wrists.
know it's
That's
real.
how you know. Yeah. It's really weird that the show has me feeling like they have a weird will they won't they dynamic going on because they can't.
Every time. Music gets me every freaking time. Dude, I've been listening to this for weeks, man. Wandering Day. This is the best episode. I am going to say that flat out. This is definitely like, it's not like, night and day difference, but between the other ones, but I feel like the pacing was a lot better. It got to the point, and it was definitely the episode that I felt like it was going to be, where it's like, okay, let's get ready for the battle. And I'm completely fine with that. I wouldn't have been fine if it felt really draggy in a lot of places, a lot of scenes where certain characters are just moping around, which did happen with Halbrand, but he finally got over it. He's gonna help, gonna, do his destiny thing, whatever, and be the king. I don't know. Maybe he'll die. He's an original character, and that'll be an emotional core for Galadriel. I don't know. Because obviously, like you said, Tim, like they're not gonna happen because Galadriel lives like thousands of years. So that wouldn't happen. But yeah, I liked it. It did really cool like flashback sequences with the Balrog and that one elf, with the whole idea of how like this tree getting struck by lightning at the same time with an elf doing his thing, the Balrog trying to destroy it, goes deep down to the rocks and creates Mithril, which is, I don't know if that's canon.
That shot looked like they just took the Balrog and put him in a Souls game.
Dude, dude,
that's what it looked like.
I mean, and they're obviously teasing, like you said too, like it's been publicly known that he's gonna be in it, and he was in the trailer too. He was like the final shot in like trailer 2 or something. Yeah. But I don't know when he's gonna appear. Clearly, obviously, in the next 3 episodes, but I don't know if they're gonna save that for the finale or.
What I'm not sure of is if it's a Balrog being born or if a Balrog waking up, because I don't think there's just one.
I feel like honestly it could be, I mean, I don't know how long they live for, but it might be the same one that we see in Fellowship. That's my guess.
I'm fairly certain that it is. It's got.
But you're saying like it might be like his birth. Like this is like his.
Yeah, I don't know if it is already born and just is like hibernating deep down. I don't know if it's like, I don't know, born out of the malice of the earth. I don't know. I am actually not really sure what they are.
Well, like in Fellowship, they went deep down when Gandalf and him fell. So he's deep in Middle Earth, literally in the middle of Middle Earth.
I mean, yeah. All right, let me think for a sec. I just want to see. I'm just looking up Balrogs on a wiki just to see. Oh, it brought me to Street Fighter. Okay.
Hey.
Because there's a Street Fighter character called Balrog.
I'm really curious as well as like when that is going to come into play, whether or not they're just going to tease and that's going to be something at the end, because they're definitely leading it to where there's going to be some sort of clash with whomever this elven orc guy is, that like refuses to confirm like his actual identity with anyone. Like that is going to be a showdown.
I wish they would just come out and say if he's Sauron. Honestly,
yeah, it's gonna be a total episode. Honestly, I feel like they will reveal who it is. And the, what do they call it? Starts with the P, the
penultimate.
Yeah, episode 7. I guarantee you by then we will know. Or it's going to be a season 1 finale tease, like, and then Adar reveals, or the stranger reveals who he finally is. Like, I guarantee you though, my bet, if I had to place money on it, like $5, it's probably going to be at the end of episode 7. We will find out who Sauron is. Or the stranger, either or. One of them is going to be confirmed. Because that's been the whole thing the last couple episodes is who is Sauron, which I can kind of understand the annoyance of the tease. So it's like, who's who? And it's like, can you just get to the point. Like it's a little bit too repetitive. Like at this point, they need to do it either in the next week's episode or episode 7. I really honestly don't want them to wait till the end. I don't want it to be like a season 1 tease. I'd rather season 1 tease be like about more of the rings than Sauron personally, because it's called the Rings of Power. And I really hope we start, because honestly, now thinking about it, unless I mean, I don't know anything about the lore, but it doesn't really seem like there's been a lot of movement for the rings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what it's called. It's a lot of these people who need help and people teaming up together, and then dwarves finding this material. But this material, and I don't know for sure, my assumption is it has to do something with the rings, because Celebrimor is the one who creates it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So-
like, they start off with the premise, or like Celebrimbor, like starts off with the premise of like, oh, yo, go talk to the dwarves, because like we're gonna need their help to like make the rings happen and all this other kind of stuff. And then like we don't actually see or hear about the rings again.
Yeah, there's like no other conversation.
And that's something I've been taking note of as well, is like, because like obviously they're trying to establish like an entire world. And I think that like I'm really curious how many seasons they're trying to go with this.
Supposedly
like,
5. Supposedly
5
seasons.
seasons?
Yeah, which I could see them do.
Yeah.
I could see them do it. And honestly, I think that's better than just stretching it out more than that. I feel like any more would just be a little bit too redundant. I think,
You mean
but
more than 5 seasons, or
more than I feel like 5 is the perfect number. Even 3, honestly, I'd be fine with 3 seasons or 5. Like obviously, this is Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of lore, so I could see a lot of people being like, actually, I'd be fine with 10. To me, 5 is like a good sweet spot. That's where you have shows like Breaking Bad. Granted, Better Call Saul had 6. That was still perfect. It wasn't too long. Like to me, 5 is a really good, like solid. That's what each season is essentially 8 hours. So that's 32 hours of 40 hours of solid content. And I feel like that would be honestly enough for the formation of the rings. That's what the show is supposed to be about, is them making the rings, them getting to it's 9 rings, right? Into the hands of
men. Yes.
Of men,
of men, yeah.
And I'm curious I feel like they don't need to make the rings this season. They just need to start building what else, like that building that he said, right? Which we saw like last week. It's like cool, but that's in the distance, right? So it's not like what you were saying, like it's like mentioned, but it's not really in the forefront. It's more of, the rings are the background of the show called The Rings of Power, which sounds like I'm complaining, but honestly, like I feel like there's a purpose for it.
Yeah, and that's why I was like talking about depending upon how long they're thinking of telling this story. Because I was thinking like, okay, it would make sense if maybe they made this like 3 seasons or something. But like considering the fact that like if they stick with this 8 episode per season formula, then I'm like, okay, I can see 5 seasons. Even though to me that's a bit long. I don't know if I'd stay in it for the long haul, but that's just because like that's kind of how I am with shows anyway. Like I end up catching up with them later on, even if they're really good shows that I like. But because then that kind of orients me with respect to like the greater story structure like at play, because then that'll tell me, okay, where are we here, like how are we supposed to feel, and then like I can have some sense of like measuring against that, because like that's how I've been viewing this, not viewing this is actually how I've been processing the story thus far. Like I've been viewing it like a regular viewer, but like while certain things are happening, or like when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about, okay, like where are we going in the story? Like, does this line up with what feels like more natural? Not even necessarily like in a formulaic sense, but like what feels like the natural thing to happen. And I think that like moments where certain beats aren't hit is when it like feels off. Like, so like in the last really the last 3 episodes, but I'll say like the last 2 episodes, which I'm not counting the episode we just watched. So episodes 4 and 3 felt off. Like the pacing fell off. But this one felt great. And like if I'm looking at it from like a structure point of view, that's because they actually did this the way that you would like actually do it. Like if you're trying to write like an engaging story, like this is the point which is like why I called it last week of like, okay, this next episode is going to be when like we see the montages. This is when we see like, oh, everyone's getting together. It's going to be like a more high key episode. Everything is going great. And you see, we ended on this great heroic note and everyone feels great and also the kind of stuff. And everything was boom, 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 but we also got to see a little creeping in of like, the bad guys, they're mounting forces and also the kind of stuff, but it hasn't directly impacted the greater story quite yet. And that's because like usually in really good stories, that's when that kind of thing would happen. But we didn't get that same fulfillment with the last like 2 episodes, which is where we should have kind of felt like we were having the most fun with the story, because like there aren't really any huge stakes at that point. It's like just more so exploring what's going on and like having a good time, like dealing a little bit more with the character development. That's usually like when that stuff is going to happen. But we didn't really get that. We had a lot of like really slow moments.
Well, really, honestly, like to your point, I feel like now watching 5 out of 8 episodes, they could have had this episode. This episode should have been episode 4.
Yeah.
That would have been such a great ending to be like the halfway point, right? Things are actually like, this is the episode now where I can say things are moving. Like things are starting to add up with the stranger, Arendir, his love interest, the stupid kid now making smart decisions, Galadriel, like Halbrand helping finally, Isildur trying to prove to himself and moving forward with his friends. Like this really honestly should have been episode 4. Now really thinking about it, and the episodes that you find issues with that I do as well with the pacing, even though I do like the characters, it's not like I don't like them. It felt a little off. Especially 3 and 4. I'm a fan of 1 and 2, and I do like aspects in 3 and 4. I don't hate them, but definitely have more issues, I feel like, in those. But they really could have summarized episodes 1 through 4 in like 2 episodes, honestly. So you introduce Galadriel. She's a little bit of a brat. She's thrown in to this environment. She gets captured by the Numenorians or whatever, and then she just needs to convince them. Maybe 3, granted, maybe 3. But I think that would have really wrapped up the bow of the pacing issue. They just left on scenes to breathe, but then they went even like further on that when they should have just been like, stop, we can just stop the scene. We get the motivations. We know these characters. So to your point, I feel like, yeah, the issues with episode 3 and 4, the pacing was off was because they could have made those into one episode and have this one be episode 4, episode 5 being 4. Because, yeah, the pacing's phenomenal in this one compared to especially episode, last week. I was thinking 3, but I'm like, yeah, last week was a bit off, more for me than episode 3. I think it's because we're now understanding the motivations a lot clearer, and now we're understanding the elves. That's getting a more interesting dynamic between the dwarves and them, and how this friend has to be pressured into either helping like keep a secret forever or helping his people, because they're going to die. And I think that's interesting. That brings a level of humanity to characters that are larger than life. And that's what brings the relatability of friendship. And that's why they're the best characters, honestly. To me, they are the most relatable. You have a husband who cares for his family and his people, Elrond who cares for his friends and will do anything for duty and honor. Like, that's like literally the first scene that we get of Elrond is, yo, Galadriel, chin up, bro. Like, you got to respect your king. So we know this character. So that's why it feels so good with him, because we get his conflict. It's beautiful writing. It's honestly the best writing between Durin and Elrond. And they'll probably, honestly, so far, it's been over halfway. They're probably going to still be my favorite dynamic and favorite arc in this whole show. And then probably Nori and the Stranger. No offense to like the other characters. Galadriel's great, starting to be great now. She was annoying in the first half, especially the Queen. The Queen was super annoying. She's now she's in a better field. Like, I understand her point of view, like the whole faith thing and scared of going back to the past and whatever. Halbrand being annoying too. He was the second most annoying character to me. But yeah, it's in this better place now where each scene felt more organic. It didn't feel like, and here's a random sequence and another random sequence. It felt all interconnected. Like, I just loved it. And Adar, that whole scene between that weird old man being like, are you not Sauron? Even though it is a little annoying with the whole tease, I liked it though, because it does bring still that mystery like aspect. Like, we don't really know this guy at all. Is he really an elf? What is he, half orc? I'm assuming he's an elf, but he looks like a jack. Like, I've never seen an elf ever in any of the Hobbit films, Lord of the Rings, and now in this show. I've never seen anybody like him before. And to my understanding, I think he is an original character. So I'm curious to see what they do with him, what they do with the Stranger, because the last scene that we had of him, and with all this coming to a close, or at least, you know, for what I'm thinking about for the show, I really feel like the Stranger might have something to do with Sauron's side. I don't know why. And like, maybe they're just doing that whole tease thing, you know, like the creepy music and the atmospheric, you know, energy we were getting from the trees moving and that look he was giving. I don't know. I feel like he could still be good, but I'm kind of more now on the side of no, he's a force for evil. And I mean, like that more.
He seems to think that himself.
Yeah, he's like peril.
When he was talking with now I forget her name.
Nori.
But yeah, he was like, you know, when he was like, "Oh, I'm bad," you know, because he was thinking of the Fireflies, like how he killed them all and all this other kind of stuff. And she's like, "No, you're good," and he was like confused. And then like, you know, all the stuff that she saw, like whatever was going on in his mind when he was healing and that kind of thing, really freaked her out. So like, I think that it would seem to be the case that he was either made for like ill or something of that nature.
But that's good story, because it's going back and forth, right? Like, of those elements of good or evil, and it's great. I like that. To your point of like everything, all this, I'm just saying. What to your point is just pacing is great, man. It's fantastic for this episode compared to the other ones.
I'm curious to know, to like look at like whether or not it was like the same group of writers that wrote this episode that wrote the ones before, or whether or not it changed or whatever. Like, I know with some shows, like that kind of thing happens. Sometimes there's like a, you know, writing team that sticks together throughout the entire thing. Sometimes they change out. So I'm really curious about that. And also, like, I do, like, it is headcanon for me that like literally there's a certain person or a small team of people that writes like the dialogue between and the scenes of Elrond and
Durin. I think it's Durin.
And
right?
Durin.
Yeah, Durin.
Yeah. Because like their scenes are like, it's like there is something just dramatically different about their scenes. I think one thing could very much be to your point of chemistry and like, you know, just like really the acting and the directing of it. but I think also it may be the case that like those are just written differently because we're dealing with actual friendship here. And I think that they really nail that versus really when we look at everything else, it kind of is like they're like engineered relationships. And I don't mean from the standpoint of writing, I mean from the standpoint of like the story. Like, between Gladriel and Homeboy, I'm like forgetting literally everyone's names.
Halbrand.
Yeah, Halbrand. Like they came together because of the story. Freaking I just talked about her. What's her name?
Nori.
Yeah, Nori and the stranger. Same thing. It's because of the story. Like all these people are like came together because of the story. While as they didn't. They've been friends for a very, very long time. And so like that, I feel like the writing in that is executed very well. And so I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, none of the writers on the show had a hand in all 8 episodes. 0.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's one guy though. His name's Justin Doable. He wrote episode 3, which was the one where they introduced, I believe they introduced Adar, or they teased Adar. I think they teased Adar at the end. With the one with the elves trying to break free, his friends die. That one he wrote, and then he just wrote this one. And that's it. Those are the only ones. Clearly, this was the better one. I remember liking episode 3 more than 4, I think. Maybe by a little bit, because that's the other thing too. These episodes, specifically 3 and 4, they kind of blend in together. I'm like, oh yeah, I think this, and like that's not really a good sign when you're still forgetting characters' names. Like, because I even do that too, where it's like, wait, who's that? Who's that? Because I remember I did this for the first couple weeks. Who's that black dude? The black elf? Aragon? Nope, that's definitely not it.
Yeah,
Arendir.
Yeah,
now I'm remembering.
Doble didn't write last week's.
No, he didn't. No, that was 4. He just wrote 3 and 5. I don't know who's.
He got odd numbers.
I guess so. And literally, yeah, like I think other than him for right now, it's been different writers. And of course, there's the creator of the show. He's obviously over everything. The developer, same guy. But yeah, I find that interesting too, where they hired, and I don't know if that happens a lot with TV shows where they hire multiple writers for different episodes. Because I think what Andor's doing, from what I heard, is they have, I don't know if it's going to be season 2 or this season, because it's 12 episodes and they see 3 episodes as one arc. So they have one writer and one director doing that. I don't know if that's this season for sure, but I know it might be season 2 where it's like, okay, that makes sense, because that's like a trilogy. Like you would want the same feel for these specific arcs every time.
Well, that's like that's like that thing of so there's like a difference between like story by and written by, so like and so like you may have people that like create the story and like oversee, like make sure that like certain plot points are being hit or whatever, but then like the people that technically write out the script and do that are different people. And like often what happens is that people are taking over writing different parts of that larger work. They're taking on different parts of the script. So like you will have people that will take over, let's say writing the dialogue for such and such character, or writing the like this, this sequence, or like things of that nature. Like they'll either have certain things paired off, or like it, like that kind of thing. It's a very collaborative work, because like the idea of someone writing, like one solo person writing a script for like this massive work is crazy. So like, especially when you're talking about something episodic, like that usually ends up happening at a lower level, but things with like these and at a very, very lower level, like more indie type stuff. But when you're talking about something of like this magnitude, yeah, they're gonna have like a lot of people on it, like a lot of rewrites, like an exorbitant amount of rewrites, because writing is rewriting, uh, and um, and that's usually what ends up happening, and so yeah, that's why I was like, I'm curious how much they switch like certain people out, or like, or whatever. Because it's also the case sometimes too where it's like they'll have like a pool of writers that they work with, and then it's like whose ever stuff like works best in the script is like whose stuff gets accepted like for that week or for that like episode or whatever. So even though there are a bunch of people that may have like written stuff for the screenplay, it like may have not have gotten accepted or whatever. So like they're not credited for that because it's like not what they used. That also happens.
Wow.
So yeah. But like it is interesting seeing like, okay, when did this happen as far as like story and that kind of thing, because this to me, so the first episode, to me the first episode and this episode like were very definitive, like I'll say like they felt very on brand for where they were in the story. Like this felt like it should have happened like when it happened. The first episode felt like it needed to do what it needed to do. And we felt great about the story and about like watching and being engaged like after that. It did what it was supposed to do. Then it's kind of like the gray areas of like 3 and 4. I feel like 2 kind of did that as well, but we were kind of edging at a point of where it was like, okay, you know, like what's going on? Let's see like whether it picks up in 3, and then it doesn't, and it's same thing in 4. We hit like sludge, and but now we're like, okay, it felt the way it should have felt. If it keeps going on this trajectory, like I feel like in the next episode we're going to see the 2 armies collide potentially, and like something bad is going to happen. Like,
yeah. And what's up with the freaking weird people that are tracking the stranger?
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Right?
Completely forgot about them. Like,
yeah.
I'm very curious if they're gonna bring him back next week. I hope they do. They literally only had like a 30-second scene, and I was already like, oh my god, I would never want to walk in their path. And they got some dark magic voodoo stuff on them, I bet.
He'll throw his math book at me. He legit turned around like the school bully just made his first jab at him. And you know what? I don't entirely blame him. It was just that kind of shot where he's just like, shit about my earring, you know? Like,
yeah.
You don't like my robe, man?
Yeah.
He was like the misunderstood kid in class or something. Like he just had that look. Just kind of, but ye ancient times misunderstood kid.
Well, to wrap this up, final thoughts from you guys for this episode, and are you excited now to watch the next episodes? Or are you still kind of like, yeah, I'm here for it?
I did a quick bit of reading on the one wiki to rule them all, and it's quite literally what it's called. And it has me curious and a little apprehensive because there's the show is clearly building towards the Balrog making an appearance. They're from what I am seeing, are little or zero mentions of any Balrogs during the Second Age at all. Just the First Age and the Third Age. They're really not much of a thing in the Second Age. In the First Age, they were driven away at the end of a war, and they all like went into hiding. I think there were at least 7 or 8 of them. They at the end, not the end of the First Age, but during the First Age, there was like a war between like primordial beings. Like, as I was reading this, I was like, I don't know how you'd even make a show about the First Age. Like, it's crazy. The First Age is absolutely nuts. But at the end of an absolutely insane war, where a bunch of Balrogs drove back Ungoliath, which is, or I'm sorry, not Ungoliath, Ungoliant, which is, I think we talked about that before. Ungoliant, Shelob the spider is like the final descendant of an Ungoliant. It's so old they think it stepped out of the darkness, and she is taken on the form of a huge spider. So in the ancient times, there were 2 trees. One was gold, one was silver, and they were like all that is good and light and blah, blah, blah. And some jewels were made out of like the essence of the trees, and Ungoliant wanted them, and Morgoth had them. Morgoth is like, Sauron was Morgoth's right hand. Like, Morgoth is essentially the closest thing to Satan that Middle-earth has. And Morgoth would not give them to Ungoliant. So Ungoliant like went on the attack against Morgoth, and the Balrogs all came to help him and fought Ungoliant. Like crazy stuff. Like, it took several Balrogs to fight this spider, but it worked. But after all the big crazy primordial wars of the First Age, all the Balrogs go away, and the one that becomes known as the Bane of Durin is the one that we know from Fellowship of the Ring. So that's the one that is currently hibernating in the mountains, but it is not seen between the First and Third Age normally, like from what I'm reading. So the reason I mentioned all of that really long-winded answer is to come around to a little bit of my apprehension is because they've basically made it public that they're doing stuff with the Balrog. There's like this immense amount of creative freedom, which shouldn't scare me, but with Lord of the Rings, it kind of does. They have this immense amount of kind of creative freedom to just be like, this was not a thing in the Second Age, but it's about to be. Because it just stayed. They all went. I think they all hid somewhere under the earth, all of them. After there were like 2 different wars I think I just read about. I think this one was called the War of Wrath. So yeah, normally it's just in terms of like the from what I'm understanding in terms of token-esque history, the Balrogs just were not in the Second Age, I don't think, at all. I'm kind of like double checking my work right now. Let me see. All it says for the Second Age is Sauron gathered all the evil things of the days of Morgoth that remained on earth and beneath it, starting the accursed years. However, no Balrogs are mentioned as being active at this time. So it's like, who's the Balrog going to interact with that's even gonna live? Like, if the story actually tries to stay completely canon with what we're reading here, that means nobody who even sees the Balrog in this show can really live. Galadriel would probably make some kind of mention of it if she saw it, I would imagine, seeing as she's immortal and quite alive at the end of Return of the King.
I mean, my thoughts are like, this is definitely my favorite episode. For me, it would go 5, 1. I think I like 2 as well. So I'd say 5, 1, 2. I think episode 1 held up really well. It had great pace to it. It did, I think, what it was supposed to do. And yeah, it made me super excited. I think that the 5th episode made me excited again. I like it felt like things were happening that needed to happen. I felt like certain dots were connecting, which is great. I think they're set up for things to go wrong in the next episode, which
Yeah.
is what I'm like looking for. I think things are going to be wrong in the next episode, and then also in episode 7, and then we'll finally hit our major climactic point like in the last one. But um, I think it's great. Uh, and yeah, I'm also wondering if they just have like different writers. If they also have, I mean, because I know, like you were saying, Tim, the it's they don't have the same group of people working throughout like all the episodes.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if
no,
they have
which is
different.
surprising.
I'm wondering if they have different writers for the different acts, and then even within that, they have different writers like for each of the episodes, and then break that down into like different writers for like each of the scenes or like acts within the episodes. But yeah, so I'm really curious as to like how they do that, because if it's the case where they have, you know, kind of these different groups of writers per act, um then like I'm really hopeful that like these next couple of episodes will be hitting the right, it'll hit the right strides like at the right moments.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I I think that there's a lot going for the rest of this show. I do think that there will be certain plot points that they will wrap up, and I think that also that there will be some good mysteries launching into the next season. Like I think that they'll set it up well. That is my big hope. Um there's a lot we're seeing with like the elves and like how they're really jacked up and twisted, really, and are manipulative and that kind of thing. And you can begin to see why that there's actually disdain for them. It's
Yep.
not just because they live a long time or anything like that. It actually has a lot to do with like, oh wow, they really do deal deceitfully, and they have this like like hierarchy. And so it's like, oh okay, cool. Like so that's been cool to explore for me. Is like actually seeing them that way and not just these beings of grace and light. But where like they actually have this like side to them for sure, where they are also like consumed with like taking care of their own means, even if it means like beguiling others and, you know, plundering and all this other kind of stuff, you know. um so yeah, I think that there's like interesting things happening there. This episode, like the characters I found very annoying were not as annoying. I felt like we finally kind of crossed that threshold. I hope we continue to depart further and further away from that threshold. um, but yeah, overall, I'm pleased with it, and I hope that the next episodes like continue on like this trajectory.
Yeah, I think this episode was. I'm not gonna say it promised, but this episode kind of gave me the hope that it's starting to kind of hit a bit of a stride now. Apprehensive though I am, and long-winded though I was in explaining why. You know, I hope they're not all just like, we've seen a Balrog, we shall all take an oath to never speak of this. Like, don't do that. That's not good.
Hand on rock.
I know. Hand on rock. That took a second. But I like this episode, I think it's the closest I felt like to the show was kind of hitting its stride. Not that the other episodes were bad. This episode, in a good way, it was over an hour long, but it kind of felt like the shortest.
Yeah. No, yeah. All these episodes are like
I think
an
that's
hour
what
and
good,
5 minutes.
That's what I think that's kind of a a good key to figure out if your pacing is good. The show did a
Yeah.
good job balancing the time between all of the plots that are going on, which are quite a few.
Yeah.
And even those are splitting. Arendir and Bronwyn are like, hey, are we going to fight for this tower or what? Those people split into two factions, and we've had to follow both of them, and it still went fine. The faction that was like, we'll serve you now, and the faction that's like, we'll try to fight, but maybe we shouldn't. I'm hoping that the pace the show's on now is what keeps up, although I'm a little apprehensive about what they're gonna do in the future here, considering what the show has said it's building up to, and considering the fact that there is no mention of them. Not only no mention of them, no mention of this specific one. Like, it was given a name and has a reputation, and they're just kind of like, yeah, he'll be back. It's just kind of he'll be around. So yeah, I liked this one. This might be my favorite of the bunch so far, I think. I'm looking forward to more, but part of me is just like, we left on this big note of like, we're heading out, we're going to war, we're getting on the boat. But then episode 5 is probably just going to kind of start like, well, we're on the boat, tie that down, sweep that stable. Like, we're just...
Character development.
Yeah, is that what that is? Building character by
sweeping some floors,
sweeping up all the shit.
That's some good character development. Well, no, I agree with you. I think this episode was really great with its pacing, with all the arcs that it has to juggle around, and that's what it kind of felt like in the other ones. It was like, oh, this arc. This one was like, we're going on a journey. We're going on a journey with everybody here, and it's all going to a point where it's connecting little by little. It's all like, the main goal of it is to me connecting, and that's great. And what you said was exactly how I felt, where it felt shorter, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, it did.
Because it literally is the same length as last week's, the week before, and it felt long.
This one might be longer, actually.
This one might be. It might be. It was like an hour and 13, maybe, hour and 14. But yeah, and it's even longer. But because of the pacing, the characters that we are enjoying now even more, the less annoying characters getting better, or less of them. And that's just a tone for the writing right now for this episode. I think the writer did a great job in this, or writers. And to me, the cinematography, every episode is flawless. Like, I absolutely love the cinematography, the CGI work, the score. I like every episode. One thing I know for sure that has not been a disappointment. Well, two things: CGI and the score.
CGI?
The special effects.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've spoken my piece on the cinematography. It's good, but I do it differently.
Yes, and I agree with you. The reaction, how somebody would react. I agree with you on that. I think this is the best one.
Like, okay.
What?
No, I just had an example in my head, like the conversation between Durin and Elrond in this one, where he's like, the fate of the elves are in your hands. Say it again. To me, that whole scene, it was very funny. It would have been much funnier if the camera never came away from Durin at all. I think it would have actually been funnier if it just stayed on him, not just saying what he's saying, but stayed on him, like, listening, like getting the other half of that conversation back. And there was a little bit of it, it wasn't like completely gone. But if the camera had just stayed completely on that profile of Durin's face while the smile comes in, I think it would have been funnier.
Well, guys, maybe this is in your watch later list. Maybe you're watching it right now. But we're so glad you decided to stick with us. Maybe you just skipped to the last 1 minute of this, video. Maybe you're weird like that. I don't know, but I'm glad you did, because I'm talking to you now. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to be blessed.